In a quiet, middle-class neighborhood on the south side of Atlanta, Georgia, a small family welcomed a newborn baby boy named Paul. His parents were overwhelmed with happiness, but before Paul even took his first breath, they had already made a decision that would quietly shape his entire future. It wasn't a complex investment portfolio. It wasn't a trust fund. It was simply this $10 every single week saved consistently until Paul turned 20. For a middle-class family in Atlanta, living paycheck to paycheck, that wasn't easy, but they committed anyway. And Paul, he had absolutely no idea any of this was happening. Pause for a second. Ask yourself, what is that one small decision you could make today that would change everything? It could be a habit, a routine, a skill you've been putting off, or even a savings plan. Think about that while we continue Paul's story. Paul was 5 years old growing up in one of Atlanta's middle-class neighborhoods. Life felt simple and full of joy. He had no worries, just his neighborhood, his friends, and his mom's cooking. What he didn't know was that in the background, his parents were quietly building his future one $10 bill at a time. But then life hit hard. Michael lost his job at one of Atlanta's downtown banks. The Great American Depression had arrived, and it didn't spare anyone, not even hard-working families on the South Side. You might be thinking, how does a man with no steady income keep saving $10 a week? Keep watching. He didn't quit. He picked up small jobs across Atlanta and eventually landed a role at a local printing press facility, earning just $300 a week. Out of that, without fail, $10 went straight into Paul's jar. That is what consistency looks like. You don't abandon a decision just because life gets hard. Fast forward, Paul was now 16, attending one of Atlanta's public schools. He never had the fancy things. His shoes were worn. Some friends laughed at him, the same friends whose parents looked rich on the outside but were drowning in debt behind closed doors. The kitchen was his classroom. Every dish his mom Sarah made was a lesson. Atlanta is a city famous for its food culture, and Paul was absorbing every bit of it. Still, Paul would stand on the balcony some evenings, looking out over the Atlanta skyline, wondering, how do I ever make this real? I don't have the capital to open a restaurant in this city. He kept believing anyway, because most financial decisions look pointless in the early stages. That $10 jar on the shelf looked like nothing, but it was quietly becoming everything. Paul turned 20. College was done. While others spent their free time scrolling and gaming, Paul was reading books, watching tutorials, and working as an apprentice at a well-known restaurant right here in Atlanta, building real hands-on skill every single day. Think of it like compound interest on ability. Every hour of practice added to the last. That same year on Paul's birthday, his parents called him to the dining table in their Atlanta home. No grand announcement, just a simple evening together. They sang to him. Then they placed the jar in front of him. $10 a week, every week, for 20 years. That jar had grown to approximately $20,000. Enough to start a business and completely change the direction of his life right here in Atlanta. Paul held that jar and cried. Paul didn't blow the money on luxury. He sat down with his father, made a plan, and through connections in the Atlanta community, they got access to an old abandoned restaurant from the local mayor. Construction began. The building had been sitting empty for years on one of Atlanta's quiet side streets. Most people walked past it every day without a second thought. Paul looked at it and saw something completely different. He saw the future. 6 months of hard work, setbacks, and sleepless nights, with his parents there every step of the way. Atlanta had seen businesses rise and fall on that street. Paul was determined his would be different. He named it after his mother, Sarah's Food, right in the heart of Atlanta. Word spread fast across the city. People lined up daily. The food was extraordinary. Within years, Sarah's Food expanded beyond Atlanta, across Georgia, then nationwide, then internationally, eventually growing to over 70 branches worldwide. It all started with one abandoned building on a quiet Atlanta street. This story is about two things: discipline and consistency. Now here's the real question for you. What is your $10 a week?